Welcome to Cheating Story Lab. Share your location below. Have you ever felt ensnared by a deception so massive, so consequential, that it threatened to unravel all your achievements? That's the predicament I found myself in. Yet, sometimes, perseverance and truth can prove to be the most potent weapons. I'm David, and this is the account of how I waited 8 months to detonate a DNA bomb in a courtroom, altering everything. The events unfolded 2 years ago when I was involved with a woman named Amanda. We'd been dating for approximately 6 months, and at the time, I believed things were progressing smoothly. She was charismatic, amusing, and appeared genuinely invested in crafting a genuine relationship together. In hindsight, there were warning signs that went unnoticed by me. Amanda had a habit of portraying herself as a victim in every scenario. Her ex-partner was abusive, her supervisor was unjust, her companions were envious. Initially, I believed I was providing support by listening and accepting her tales. Unbeknownst to me, I was involved with a master manipulator. Our relationship came to an abrupt end when I discovered several falsehoods about her evening whereabouts. No major issues, yet enough inconsistencies made me ponder other unspoken truths. When I raised the matter, she reacted angrily, accused me of being paranoid and controlling, and left my apartment. For nearly a year after that, I didn't see her again until 10 months later. At work, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Amanda crying. She informed me she was pregnant, the child was mine, and she had been trying to reach me for weeks. This revelation immediately seemed strange because my phone number hadn't changed, and I hadn't blocked her. However, what truly made my stomach churn was her claim of being 7 months pregnant. In my mental calculations, being 7 months pregnant implied conception occurred approximately 2 months following our separation. Despite zero interaction since then, I mentioned this discrepancy in our assumed timelines, which prompted her to alter her story, first claiming 5 months pregnancy, then 6. The duration varied based on how I pressed for precision. Each request for clarification elicited more emotional responses and accusations of shirking responsibilities, insisting we confront the baby matters face-to-face. Reluctantly, I consented. At a coffee shop, our first encounter in nearly a year transpired. Her pregnant state was undeniable, yet the entire setup felt calculated. Amanda presented an organized folder containing ultrasound images, doctor's records, and a detailed account of her pregnancy timeline. She pushed the ultrasound pictures towards me, stating, "Here is your son, David. He warrants a presence in his life." Upon viewing the images, for a brief instant, I entertained the notion, what if this was my child? Could I be on the verge of fatherhood? Yet, rationality prevailed. The dates remained inconsistent despite her attempts to clarify them. I requested a paternity test, causing a significant shift in her demeanor. Her tears ceased, and she grew agitated. She branded me as heartless, accused of denying my own child the opportunity to be raised by its father. She stormed off, leaving the ultrasound images on the table. 3 weeks later, I received legal papers. Amanda was suing me for child support, asserting that I was the father and had rejected my parental responsibilities. The document portrayed me as a negligent father who had abandoned his expecting partner. Here was the point where I executed what turned out to be the wisest move of my existence. Instead of succumbing to panic or acting hastily, I opted for a lawyer named Patricia Chun. Patricia, aged 50, had been practicing family law for more than 2 decades and had encountered every manipulative strategy imaginable. Upon discussing my predicament with Patricia, she reclined in her chair and uttered words I'll always remember. "David, from my professional experience, individuals who resist paternity tests this vehemently typically have a compelling reason." Patricia advised that we could ask the court for a paternity test, but doing so would reveal our hand prematurely. Instead, she proposed a more tactical approach. I could obtain a private DNA test immediately, keep the findings concealed, and produce them at the most opportune moment during the proceedings. The challenge lay in acquiring a DNA sample from the baby. It was then that Patricia enlightened me about prenatal paternity tests. A straightforward blood test from the mother could establish paternity with a high degree of certainty, 99.9%. Despite its cost, approximately $2,000, it offered unquestionable answers. However, getting Amanda to consent proved difficult. Patricia proposed an alternate approach. Instead of demanding a paternity test, we would mutually agree to one during discussions regarding settlement. We suggested covering all medical costs associated with the pregnancy and providing immediate child support if she would first confirm the father's identity. When Patricia presented this proposition to Amanda's legal representative, the response was swift and hostile. In a written communication, Amanda's lawyer accused us of harassment and demanded we cease inquiries about paternity. They also threatened further compensation for emotional distress if testing persisted. This reaction made our position clear. I saved every text, voice message, and form of communication from our relationship and separation, as well as credit card statements, restaurant receipts, and parking tickets, which demonstrated the precise date our relationship ended and our last encounter. Moreover, I began documenting each detail from the moment Patricia informed me about the pregnancy, every phone call, meeting, modification in her story, to create a chronology backed by proof. In contrast, Amanda's account evolved. She asserted in her court documents that we had maintained a casual relationship for months following our official split, alleging I had initially agreed to support her and the baby, but later reneged when things became tangible. She even claimed I had persuaded her to become pregnant with a desire to establish a family. However, none of this was accurate, and I possessed evidence to refute it. 8 months after giving birth to her son named Tyler, Amanda consistently updated social media about single parenthood, the baby's father's abandonment, and financial struggles due to my negligence. Each post inflicted damage on my reputation, causing friends to regard me differently, colleagues to gossip, and family to question my honesty, all of which exacerbated my stress. However, Patricia advised patience and emphasized the pending court case. She believed Amanda was building a false narrative that would crumble once the truth emerged. 2 weeks before the court date, I underwent a DNA test, collecting Tyler's sample through a private investigator who retrieved a discarded item from Amanda's trash. Though this might sound extreme, Patricia assured me it was both legal and admissible in court. The test results confirmed our suspicions. No chance of paternity for me regarding Tyler. Yet, we delved deeper into Amanda's past. You see, Patricia had employed an investigator to scrutinize Amanda's background. The findings were disquieting. This wasn't the first time Amanda had wrongfully accused someone of fathering her child. Over the past 3 years, she had made similar accusations against 2 other men. Shockingly, one of these men had paid child support for 6 months only to find out the truth later. Additionally, our investigation unveiled that Amanda was in a relationship with Brandon during the period she claimed we were exclusive. Social media evidence substantiated their relationship both before and after our romance ended. The court date eventually arrived. With a self-assured stride, Amanda entered the courtroom, dressed to portray an ideal victim. Tyler accompanied her, a strategic move meant to evoke compassion from the judge. Initially, Amanda's legal representative argued their case first. Admittedly, she was an effective actress. She portrayed me as a controlling individual who had persistently courted her, gained her trust, and deserted her at the critical juncture. Using carefully selected text messages, intimate photos from our relationship period, and a coherent narrative, she made her account seem credible. When it came for Amanda to testify, she delivered an impressive performance. She recounted my initial enthusiasm regarding the pregnancy, my initial commitment to assist her, then subsequent withdrawal and hostility. She even succeeded in choking up as she narrated my rejection of our son. The judge seemed moved. I could discern a look of disapproval on his face as he glanced between Tyler and me. Clearly confident of victory, Amanda's lawyer prepared to rest their case. Subsequently, Patricia presented our timeline substantiated by evidence. Weekend credit card records placing me in a distinct city at the time Amanda alleged we had conceived Tyler. Text message logs indicating no communication between us before her claim of pregnancy. Declarations from friends verifying our broken relationship. Most significantly, observing Amanda's reaction as Patricia presented evidence of her past transgressions. Here were the other men she deceitfully implicated. A pattern of deception and dishonesty. Amanda's assured expression transformed into fear. Patricia then addressed the judge. Your Honor, the defendant has constructed this entire case upon false premises. My client has been accused of deserting his child, yet we possess undeniable evidence that he is not the father of this child. That's when Patricia handed me the sealed envelope containing the DNA results. Mr. Richardson, Patricia instructed, please present your evidence to the court. I rose, walked to the judge's bench, and delivered the envelope to him. In the hushed courtroom, even Tyler ceased his baby noises. The judge opened the envelope, scrutinized its contents, and his countenance altered instantly. He cast glances between Amanda, me, then back to the documents. In a resonant voice, he announced to the still room, as per this court-validated DNA analysis, he stated, there is absolutely no possibility that the accused is the biological father of this child. The ensuing silence was oppressive. I observed Amanda's face contort through various emotions: shock, panic, rage, and ultimately resignation. Her attorney was whispering frenetically to her, but she remained unresponsive. Yet, our case wasn't concluded. Patricia proceeded to unveil evidence of Amanda's association with Brandon, presenting photographs and messages that confirmed they were together during the conception period. She also brought forth proof of Amanda's past false paternity allegations. The judge did not hide his displeasure. Not in the slightest. Ms., he said, I find your actions egregious. To Amanda, he stated bluntly, you've squandered this court's time, inflicted emotional turmoil upon the defendant, and possibly lied under oath by testifying about false facts. Finally, Amanda responded, attempting to assert she had misunderstood the dates and honestly thought you were the father. However, her history of actions invalidated this explanation. The judge promptly dismissed the case and mandated Amanda to cover my legal costs exceeding $15,000. Of greater consequence, he forwarded the case to the district attorney's office for potential perjury investigation. Exiting the courtroom, Amanda made an attempt to speak with me. I could make out her words, likely seeking clarification or apology, but I chose not to engage. I had invested 8 months of my life, endured 8 months of stress and tarnished reputation, been portrayed as a negligent father for 8 months. Patricia placed a hand on my shoulder and commented, justice may not be swift, David, but it's generally comprehensive. In 3 months, I discovered that Amanda faced charges for perjury and falsifying reports. She eventually admitted guilt to lesser charges and was given community service, restitution, and mandated to publicly retract her defamatory statements across the same social media platforms she had used against me. Regarding Brandon, the DNA test verified him as Tyler's father. It seemed he was unaware of the entire situation. Recently, I heard he was seeking custody and child support from Amanda. This ordeal imparted a valuable lesson on perseverance and authenticity. Amanda presumed she could control the system with her deceit and emotional coercion, expecting me to either panic or feel overwhelmed by guilt, rendering my resistance ineffective. Sometimes, the most effective revenge is allowing someone to stumble into their own downfall while you silently accumulate facts to debunk their deceit. Currently, I'm in a relationship with an individual who cherishes honesty above all else. We're mapping out our future together, including the prospect of having children. Children that will legitimately be ours, not just mine, but also Amanda's. As far as I know, she's working part-time and wrestling with Tyler's upbringing amidst the repercussions of her actions. I don't derive pleasure from her tribulations, but I find solace in the knowledge that justice has been served. The truth has eventually surfaced. At times, the wisest course is patience. Sometimes, you must bide your time to present your evidence at the opportune moment. And sometimes, that instant arrives when someone is under oath in a courtroom, fresh from perjuring themselves. That DNA envelope wasn't merely proof of paternity. It was confirmation that truth ultimately triumphs, even if it takes 8 months to emerge. Gratitude for your attention. Patience is key when seeking the truth, yet it's consistently valuable in the end.